Yes, college football isn't just a game. It's a storybook of insane plays, bold calls, and moments so iconic they're basically tattooed on the sport's soul. Every team, from the biggest blue bloods to the scrappiest underdogs, has that one moment, the play, the speech, the tradition that defines them. Some are wild trick plays, some are goal line stands, some don't even happen on the field, but each one is unforgettable. Today, we're running through the most legendary signature moments from across college football, the ones that made fans scream, broke the internet, and rewrote what we thought was possible. Let's break them down. One moment, one team at a time. Auburn Tigers, the Kick 6, 2013 Iron Bowl. Sometimes the most dangerous play is the one you never expect. In the 2013 Iron Bowl, tied 28-28 with 1 second on the clock, Alabama tried something bold, a 57-yard field goal to win the game. Their kicker, freshman Adam Griffith, lined it up, but Auburn had a secret weapon waiting, literally in the shadows of the end zone: Chris Davis. Davis wasn't there by accident. Auburn had practiced this. Just in case the kick came up short, they placed their fastest return man deep in the end zone. Griffith's kick sailed high but not far. It barely cleared midfield before dropping into Davis's arms. He didn't hesitate. He hugged the left sideline like it was a tightrope, slipping past the first wave. Auburn's blockers turned into a human wall, sealing off Alabama's confused field goal unit, mostly linemen who hadn't chased anyone in years. Davis sprinted untouched all 109 yards and crossed into the end zone as time expired. Auburn 34, Alabama 28. Pandemonium. The announcers couldn't believe it. The crowd lost their minds, and Saban probably lost another headset. This wasn't just a broken play, it was calculated. Auburn knew the risk. They played the edge and won the whole board. The Kick 6 became one of the greatest finishes in college football history. Not just because of what happened, but because of how it happened. Preparation, speed, and chaos all rolled into one. It was a walk-off return in a rivalry that already hated each other, and it knocked Alabama out of title contention. A field goal gone wrong. A return done perfectly. And a signature moment sealed in college football legend forever. Alabama, Crimson Tide, the goal line stand, 1979 Sugar Bowl. There's no trick play here, no last-second miracle. Just 11 defenders daring you to try them. And in the 1979 Sugar Bowl, with a national championship on the line, Alabama didn't blink. It was January 1st, and the game was in the fourth quarter. Penn State was down 14-7, sitting at Alabama's 1-yard line with 4 chances to punch it in. But what looked like a short distance felt like a mountain. Alabama's defense, disciplined, brutal, and perfectly coached, dug in. First down, stopped cold. Second, swarmed at the line. On third down, they tried a fullback dive, still nothing. Now it was 4th and goal. One final shot, 1 yard, everything on the line. Penn State calls a dive for running back Mike Gooman. He tries to leap over the pile like it's Madden, but Alabama linebacker Barry Krause reads it cold. He doesn't just meet Gooman, he launches into a midair like a torpedo in shoulder pads. Helmet to helmet, Gooman drops like he hit a brick wall. The ball never crosses the line. Behind the hit, picture-perfect execution. David Hanna submarines the lead blocker, collapsing the lane. Safety Murray-Leg screams, gut check, and crashes in. Krause hangs back a beat, then times the hit like he had a cheat code. It's all instinct, prep, and guts. That stand sealed the win, 14-7, and handed Bear Bryant his 5th national title. The photo of Krause blasting Gooman became iconic, immortalized on walls across Alabama. No razzle-dazzle, just old-school football at its finest. Alabama didn't just win, they slammed the door shut, bolted it, and dared anyone to try again. It's a signature moment because it wasn't about what you saw on the scoreboard. It was about what it took to keep it that way. Boise State Broncos, the Statue of Liberty play, 2007 Fiesta Bowl. The Statue of Liberty isn't just standing in New York. It's also one of football's boldest trick plays. Here's how it works. The quarterback takes the snap, drops back like he's about to throw a quick pass, and raises his throwing arm high to sell the fake. But while defenders react to the motion, he uses his other hand to quietly hand the ball off behind his back to a running back. That runner, almost hidden from view, takes the ball and sprints the opposite direction. If timed perfectly, it leaves the defense completely fooled, flowing the wrong way and too slow to recover. On January 1st, 2007, in the Fiesta Bowl, Boise State pulled off one of the cleanest versions of this play ever. The Broncos were tied with powerhouse Oklahoma in overtime. They had just scored a touchdown, and instead of kicking the extra point to tie, they went for two for the win. Out of a shotgun trip set, quarterback Jared Zabransky faked a quick pass right, freezing Oklahoma's defense. But tucked in his left hand behind his back, he handed the ball off to Ian Johnson, who ran untouched to the left for the winning conversion. This wasn't luck. It was choreographed chaos. The pump fake, the footwork, the misdirection, it all had to be perfect. Boise State used one of football's oldest plays in its boldest moment, knocking off a national giant and redefining what underdog football could look like. Boston College Eagles, hail Flutie, 1984 versus Miami. If you've ever tossed something across a room and shouted, "YOLO, congratulations," you understand the spirit of the Hail Mary. In football, it's the ultimate desperation play. All your receivers sprint to the end zone, and the quarterback just chucks it up like he's betting the house. On November 23rd, 1984, Doug Flutie turned that chaos into legend. Boston College was trailing Miami 45-41 with just 6 seconds left. The ball sat on BC's own 37-yard line. Everyone in the stadium expected one last heave. The play was called 55 flood tip, where 3 receivers flood the end zone, hoping to deflect the ball to each other like it's backyard schoolyard ball. But Flutie wasn't tipping anything. He dropped back, scrambled right under pressure, and with defenders chasing him and a 30-mile-per-hour headwind in his face, he launched a high-arcing bomb 63 yards through the Florida air. The Miami defense assumed he couldn't reach the end zone, so they let Gerard Phelan sneak behind them. Big mistake. The ball dropped right into Phelan's arms in the end zone, untouched, for a walk-off touchdown. Final score, 47-45. It wasn't just a miracle, it was a masterpiece. Flutie became the first college QB to pass 10,000 yards and won the Heisman later that year. Boston College became a household name, and the Hail Flutie became the gold standard for last-second magic. It's still the reason every kid at recess believes their last throw might be the one. California Golden Bears, the play, 1982 versus Stanford. In football, a lateral is a backward or sideways pass meant to keep the play alive. 1 is risky. 5, that's unusual and it's chaos. But on November 20th, 1982, Cal turned chaos into a miracle with the play, the most legendary multilateral kickoff return in college football history. Stanford had just taken a 20-19 lead with a field goal and celebrated like the game was over. But there were still 4 seconds left. Cal fielded a squib kick and began what looked like a hopeless return. Kevin Moen fielded the kick and immediately lateraled to Richard Rodgers. From there, Rodgers to Dwight Garner, who nearly went down but managed to pitch it back just before his knee hit. Rodgers got it again, then sent it to Mariette Ford, who flipped it blindly over his shoulder to Moen. That's 5 laterals, no huddles, no diagrams, just instincts and survival, as Moen sprinted the final 25 yards. The Stanford band had already rushed the field thinking it was over, but it wasn't. Moen crashed through a trombone player in the end zone like he was scoring in a marching band apocalypse. Technically, the awareness and timing between laterals were flawless. Cal used spacing and quick releases to keep defenders chasing ghosts, and that unsportsmanlike penalty on Stanford gave Cal a 15-yard head start. Without that final timeout by Stanford's coach and the short kickoff, none of it happens. But it did, and the play remains college football's wildest final act. Texas Longhorns, Vince Young's Rose Bowl run, 2006. Most quarterbacks win games by throwing a pass into the end zone. But Vince Young didn't throw it. He ran it in himself to win the national championship. Pure athleticism under the brightest lights in college football. It was January 4th, 2006 in Pasadena. Texas trailed USC 38-33 in the final moments of the BCS National Championship game. The Longhorns had 4th and 5 from the 8-yard line, just 19 seconds left. The call wasn't flashy, just a standard shotgun snap. Young dropped back, saw his receivers covered, and without hesitation, took off. He rolled right, waited for one critical block, then sliced back left, sprinting past defenders and into the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown. It was his third rushing score of the night and sealed a 41-38 win after a successful two-point conversion. That run capped one of the greatest individual performances in college football history. 467 total yards, 200 on the ground, and 0 turnovers. Young didn't just beat USC, he dismantled one of the most hyped teams ever, ending their 34-game win streak. The play lives on because it had everything: pressure, precision, and poise. It wasn't a miracle, it was mastery. Vince Young didn't need a Hail Mary or a statue fake, just a hole, a sideline, and a moment, and he owned all three. Clemson Tigers, Howard's Rock, and the Hill Run. Some teams warm up in tunnels. Clemson, they charge into battle from a hill like they're launching a medieval siege. The Hill Run, paired with Howard's Rock, isn't a trick play. It's a pre-game ritual so intense it feels like a play. Here's how it goes. Before every home game in Memorial Stadium, known affectionately as Death Valley, the Clemson Tigers gather at the top of a steep grassy slope called the Hill. Sitting right there is Howard's Rock, a rough chunk of quartz brought back from Death Valley, California, and named after legendary coach Frank Howard. Each player rubs the rock, symbolizing luck, pride, and commitment. Then, the cannon fires, the crowd explodes, and the entire team sprints down the hill onto the field. There's no handoff, no audible, just adrenaline and unity. It's not easy running full speed down that slope either. You need balance, focus, and zero fear of turf burn. But that's the point. The run says, we're ready, not just to play, but to dominate. It's been going strong since the 1960s and has become one of the most iconic entrances in all of college football. For Clemson, it's not just a tradition, it's identity, legacy, and hype, all packed into 20 seconds of downhill chaos. You don't just watch it, you feel it. Florida Gators, Tim Tebow's Promise, 2008. Most signature moments in college football come from a touchdown, a last-second stop, or a wild trick play, but Florida's came from a podium. No cleats, no helmet, just a mic and Tim Tebow's voice. That's all it took to change the course of a season. On September 27th, 2008, Florida had just lost to Ole Miss at home. They were 22-point favorites. The locker room was dead silent. But when Tebow faced the press, he didn't dodge or deflect. Instead, he delivered a 30-second speech that would become football folklore. No play call, just a promise. You'll never see anyone push harder than I will. You'll never see a team play harder than we will. And he backed it up. After that speech, Florida turned into a machine. They bulldozed opponents by nearly 300 combined points. They took down number 1 Alabama in the SEC championship and beaten them. Won Oklahoma in the national title game. Tebow threw for 231 yards and ran for 109 in that final. Pure dual threat dominance. The speech itself wasn't flashy, no dramatic music, no staged hype, but it was gutsy, direct, and exactly what the team needed. The promise became the Gators' turning point. It wasn't a trick play, it was real leadership. Clear, raw, and powerful. And just like that, Florida didn't just bounce back. They finished as champions. Penn State Nittany Lions, the 1987 Fiesta Bowl interception. Sometimes the biggest flex is not outgunning your opponent, but outsmarting them. And in 1987, Penn State did just that. It was the battle for number 1, undefeated number 2 Penn State versus the swaggering number 1 Miami Hurricanes, led by Heisman-winning quarterback Vinny Testaverde. Miami rolled into Tempe in Army fatigues. Penn State wore suits. It looked like a Hollywood shootout, flashy offense versus blue-collar grit, and it played out like a defensive masterclass. Miami racked up 445 total yards. Penn State, just 162. But here's the thing. They picked off Testaverde 5 times. That's like letting someone sprint ahead in Mario Kart, only to smack them with a blue shell at the finish line. The signature moment, final seconds. Miami's at the 5-yard line, down 14-10. It's 4th and goal. Testaverde drops back and thinks he's got a free touchdown. But linebacker Pete Giftopoulos slides into coverage and grabs the game-sealing interception. Game, set, title. It wasn't about big plays or crazy schemes. It was smart football. Penn State ran a disguised nickel package, rotated coverages, and made Miami overthink itself. And when it mattered most, they read the moment, not just the playbook. That's how you turn defense into destiny. Iowa Hawkeyes, the Kinnick wave. Not every signature moment is about touchdowns or trophies. Some plays don't need pads. They just need people. And in Iowa, the most powerful moment comes not from the field, but from the heart. At the end of every first quarter inside Kinnick Stadium, the crowd doesn't roar, but rise. Over 70,000 fans, players, coaches, and even the refs turn their eyes toward the tall glass windows of the UI Stead Family Children's Hospital, which towers just beyond the end zone. Then they all wave. On the other side of that glass, kids fighting cancer, heart disease, and conditions too unfair for their age wave back. Some from hospital beds, some wrapped in blankets. All of them are warriors. Started in 2017, the Kinnick wave became more than a tradition. It became a healing moment. The stadium turns into a support system. The scoreboard disappears. The only thing that matters is that for 1 minute, these kids aren't patients, they're the stars. And in 2022, it got even more personal. The week's kid captain gets to choose the song that plays during the wave. No stat will ever measure it, but it's the most undefeated play in college football. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Every team's got plays that win games, but these made history. From walk-off miracles to heartfelt traditions, college football's signature moments are what make the sport unforgettable. If you enjoyed this, I'm posting a lot more breakdowns just like it, so if you want more chills, chaos, and college football classics, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know your team's signature moment in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.